Group that unraveled itself? Were you in a group that gave up? Huh? Were you in a group that felt this is impossible? Did you have teammates who were encouraging you and say, let us try another way out? You know, that is basically, that activity basically teaches us a lot of things, not just about entrepreneurship, but about life. Yeah? Maisha huku nje ni ngumu. Sometimes we find ourselves in places where you are tangled up with issues of life. Si ni kweli? But sometimes you get to a point when you have to unravel that situation so that you can get a way out. All right? So, but for the sake of today, it's basically about entrepreneurship. I'll just give a brief about who I am. As I introduced myself, my name is Mercy Cherutich. I am born again. I am from Kisumu. I fellowship at Deliverance Church, Car Wash. My experience in career, maybe that is where I can talk about. I studied Bachelor of Arts in Economics and Sociology in the University of Nairobi. After that, I joined the workforce as a life skills coach. That's where I began training young people in high school about how to live life in ways that are proper. Yeah? And after that, I was able to get another job as a loans officer in a microfinance institution in Kisumu. Actually, that is what brought me to Kisumu in 2008. So I started off as a loans officer, and I credit my hard work because after 5 years, I was promoted to be the branch manager, and I worked as a branch manager for about 5 years, and then I joined the entrepreneurial world. And maybe that is the reason why Clinton, because he has known me for a bit of time, felt probably with my experience, I'm able to share with you a few things. So I'll ask a question. Who or what is entrepreneurship? What do you understand by entrepreneurship? Anybody? What is entrepreneurship? Mmesema mnataka kuwa entrepreneurs, but hiyo ni nini? What is entrepreneurship? I like a class that is active. Yes. Perfect. That's such a good definition. Anybody else who would want to add? Okay, I'll just, because of time, I will say what I have put in my notes. Entrepreneurship is the activity of setting up a business or businesses and taking on financial risks in the hope of profit. Because when you're an entrepreneur, at the end of the day, you want to make money out of the venture that you're doing, right? Ama tunafanya for what sake? To be able to get money and profit. So an entrepreneur is that person, the individual who sets up a business. So this particular person identifies and solves problems in a creative, innovative, opportunist, should be a risk taker, a self-starter, and an open-minded person with the hope of making profit from an enterprise. Is that clear? So ni mtu ambaye amejitolea, who has gone out of their way to see a problem in the society and look for ways of how to solve it. And when you're solving this problem, you are expecting people to pay for that solution that you're offering in the market. Is that right? Yes. So that is basically what an entrepreneur is. So I want us to, maybe you as an individual, you may know some of the entrepreneurs worldwide, when you unajua wamesifika. Do you know any entrepreneur that who has stood out of time and you can say that one for sure is a great entrepreneur? Anybody knows anyone? Do you know Bill Gates? You do? One of the richest men. There was a time he was actually the richest man. I'm not sure if he's still the richest man in the world. You know Mark Zuckerberg? Is it Zuckerberg? Zuckerberg? Yes. The guy who owns Facebook. Those are people who are, you know, big time entrepreneurs. When you come down even to our local market, there are people I'm sure you can identify and say that one is a successful entrepreneur. And you as a believer, the Bible tells us in Deuteronomy chapter 8, verse 18. If you can just quickly look at it. The Bible tells us that rather you are to remember the Lord your God, for it is he who gives you the power to make wealth, right? In order to establish his covenant that he swore to your fathers as it is in this day. What is the scripture telling us there? That it is God who gives us what? The power to create wealth. Is there anybody who wants to be poor? Is there anybody here who wants to be poor? Is there anybody who wants to be poor? No, none of us wants to be poor. And that is the reason why we have to take our time to try and understand these things. In Galatians chapter 4, verse 29 says that if we belong to Christ, then you are Abraham's seed, heirs according to the promise. So basically we are being told here that since we are the heirs of Abraham, therefore we are benefactors of the covenant that the Lord God Almighty had with who? Our Father. That means we are partakers of that covenant. And if you know what the covenant says, that the covenant that Abraham and the Lord had, is that we are supposed to be prosperous. We are supposed to be wealthy. We should not struggle. But it is entrepreneurship that will take you to that marketplace. It is what you're able to bring out into the society, things you will create by yourself through the power of the Holy Spirit as believers. We are not talking about people out there in the world. We are talking about us as believers, as children of God. Because God gave us dominion over the heavens and the earth. Isn't it right? But what the sad thing is that we as believers, we have let other people take that dominion. We do not have even if I list the people who I have written here as names of great entrepreneurs, probably there is one or two who is a believer. So where are we going wrong as believers? Yet we have a great ministry. I was talking to Pastor there, and just as we were talking about evangelism, and we were saying evangelism is our greatest role as believers. But with evangelism to happen, don't you need pastor money to be able to go out there, to go for missions? Where is this money going to come from? It has to come from the body of Christ, from people who we usually call kingdom financiers, right? Who will support the kingdom of God. But if we as believers are not able to make money for ourselves, to create profit, then it will be very difficult for us to share the gospel outside there. So we will look at some of the characteristics of a successful entrepreneur, because we are telling ourselves, I know most of you are still young, you're still in school, primary school, high school, university, and probably you're asking yourself, why am I learning about entrepreneurship? Basically, it's for you to get a background, get to know where am I heading in this life. We know that today's society, getting a job is very challenging, right? But you as a person, God has given you skills. He's given you abilities that you're able to use for you to make something out of and build a life for yourself. So what are some of the characteristics an entrepreneur should have? The first thing is that they need to take what they do seriously, right? Because being an entrepreneur, you need to understand that particular enterprise you're building up, it is you yourself who is building it up. Hakuna mtu mwingine actually from the conceptualization process, it is you by yourself. Maybe when you have grown is when now you will start adding people in to come and support the business. But the vision bearer, it is yourself. So you have to take the initiative, take yourself, what you're doing very, very seriously to make the enterprise successful. The second thing is that you have to make this enterprise about the customer. And I wish us to take this session very seriously, because in my next session, you will actually be building a business by yourself. Okay? Are we getting it? In the next session, you will build a business for yourself, and the things that I'm talking about is what you will use to build your business. So the second thing, as I've said, that you need to make this enterprise that you're building about the customer. Because who are you creating this enterprise for? Si unataka watu wakuje kwako wanunue whatever you're creating, whether it's a service, whether it's a product. So you need to think about what does the customer want. So the product should always focus on the customer. So you need to know who your customer is, what would they want, and then now create that enterprise to fit that particular customer. The third is that you have to make big decisions carefully. We need to realize every decision you make has a consequence. Si ukweli? And every decision you make has a consequence. So when as an entrepreneur you're making decisions, you have to think through those decisions. And that's why it's important for you to find even mentorship. Somebody who can guide you, who has gone before you and understands what entrepreneurship is, the challenges thereof. So when you're making a decision, for example, on where are you going to establish your enterprise, who are you going to bring in, how much money do you need to start? So those are the things you need to think about. How much time do I have to invest every day to bring whatever you're thinking about to come to pass? Number 4 is that they aren't scared of the road less traveled. This is one thing that I think for many people, the reason why they quit entrepreneurship is because they are not willing to take that road that is less traveled. A road that is less traveled is a difficult road. Si ni ukweli? Barabara ile ni rahisi, si watu wengi wanatembea hiyo barabara. But a road that is difficult, not everybody goes on that road. And I must tell you, being an entrepreneur is not an easy road. However, as you keep going, the benefits are humongous. You will get rewards for it. So you need to be willing to take the road less traveled. You will have to have sleepless nights, maybe even just developing a concept. It might take you days, it might take you hours, it may take a lot of your own money, you know, before even you see fruit kutoka kwa hiyo kitu ambayo unatengeneza. So you have to be very, very willing to do that. The fifth thing is that you have to harness technology. We cannot run away from technology in today's world. It is, if you can see, even the church these days has totally taken up technology. Right now we are here, someone is recording, other people are watching, you know, what is going on here elsewhere. Why? Because we are adapting to the technologies that are there. We cannot say we will sit back, hiyo ni vitu ya dunia, sasa hatuwezi, you know, we should not benefit. But you as a person needs to see how technology can be used in your enterprise. The sixth thing is that they invest in themselves. I did not mention, I do quite a number of things. Water consultant, I engage in borehole drilling services, and I'm also a baker. Baking is a passion. Actually, I did your pastor's wedding cake. Thank you very much. And so I also do that, but that was a business that came out of a hobby. Yeah. So investing in yourself. So for me, despite the fact that I am quite skilled in this particular business, all the time I try to learn. I'm constantly learning about new devices of probably cake decorating. I go for classes sometimes, you know, do things here and there because I am investing in the thing that brings me income, okay? So you as a person, when you get to that place, you need to understand that you need to invest in yourself. Start now. If there is a hobby that you have, for example, start learning more. If you have, you know, your hands are good at artwork, those are things that you can do. So start now. Usiseme mi bado niko shule, bado miaka ya kuingia, you know, huku nje, but invest in yourself. Continue developing yourself. Constantly learn. Learn new technology, learn new things that are happening, be friends to people. As a entrepreneur, you have to be friends with people, especially people who have been in business before, okay? And then another thing, number 7, is that you should not be afraid to take risks. Being an entrepreneur, you have to take risks. Taking risks, an entrepreneur who does not take risks is not an entrepreneur. That I can tell you for sure. Because you're developing a product. So this is maybe something that is not there, has never been there. So you're actually starting something and you're believing that this particular product will be accepted in the market. It will be accepted in the market at the price that you have put on it, and believing that, over years, that product shall still be in use. So you're not afraid to put money into developing a product. So that is something that you as an entrepreneur need to know, that you cannot afford to not take risks. Number 8, you're willing to experience failure. Is failure a good thing or a bad thing? Is failure a good thing or a bad thing? Huh? It is good. Why is it good, my brother? Perfect. Are there people who fail and remain at a place of failure? Are there people who fail and remain at a place of failure? Yes, several people. That is where they go wrong in entrepreneurship. Anaanguka, anaanza labda biashara, inakuwa ngumu, anawachana naye. And yet, the time when you're developing your concept or your product or your service, you had 100% belief that you're going to do this and you will be successful. So something small just trips you. Alafu unasema hiyo mimi sitarudi tena. Let me encourage you. Entrepreneurship is about failure. You will fail. I can assure you, if you start as an entrepreneur, you will do what? You will fail. So be ready to fail. Be ready to stand up again. Be ready to push that concept, that idea, that product into the market. And trust me, there are people who will be willing to buy whatever it is you have developed, if you just get it right. Seek the right people to, to develop you, to mentor you into that place. Another thing is that you need to adapt to the current needs of the customer and the market. When you're becoming an entrepreneur, when you are thinking about what to do, you need to see what is the current need in society today. The photographers who used to take us pictures 20 years ago, they used to 20 plus years ago, walikuwa natembea na hii camera. I don't know if they're still there. Ile anakupiga picha na kuambia Saturday nitakuletea picha yako. Si ilikuwa hivyo? But what is happening today? Will you get that person akizunguka hapa anatuambia nakuja kutupigia picha, tutangoja next week? It's not possible. Sasa hii unapigwa picha. The times you go to a wedding or to a funeral, by the time you're leaving, picha yako iko hapo, and someone is telling you ndio hii nunua. Technology, things have changed. The market has changed. So when you're developing your product, is it something that is in today's market? Right now ni picha, simu yako tu unapigwa naye na picha inatoka. You go to a printing place, you get your photograph. So we need to adapt to the current needs of society. Right now people want quick stuff. Watu wanataka vitu ambayo inatoka haraka. So if yours will take longer, they will go to the other person, yake inatoka haraka. So those are the things you need to think about in the ideas that you will have as you keep going. The 10th one is that they know how to sell themselves. Lazima ujue kujiuza, kuuza hiyo product ama hiyo service ambayo umedevelop. There is no shortcut in entrepreneurship. If you're not able to market and sell yourself, vitu zako zitakapo kwa nyumba, or wherever it is, if it's your small office or if you have a small industry, it will not move. So you must be able to communicate, sell yourself into the market so that people can be able to buy your product. The next one is that you need to do what is called networking. Do you understand what networking is? What is networking? Anybody? What is networking? Yes. To have connection. And it's not just one it's multiple connections. So an entrepreneur, you have to network. For example, if you're developing a product, for example, or if you're developing maybe a concept, maybe you want to give a service, you have to look for people who have been maybe it's a new concept. Look for people in the same industry. Find out, how did they make it? How did they enter the market? How did they sell their product? What are the price ranges? So that wewe pia ujue utaingia kwa hiyo market na prices gani. So you need to network. You cannot live in your own cocoon and say, hii product yangu ni special, I don't want anybody to know about it. You know, sitaki mtu aniibie concept yangu. It doesn't work like that. Yes, there are things that you have to keep very private, but there are things that you need to open up to other people. Ndio wakusaidie, learn how to make the best out of it so that you can. We said entrepreneurship is about making profit. So you have to see what best ways to do so that you can actually get profit for that good or service. So we look at something I'm calling essentials of being an entrepreneur. What must you be? You know, what are some of the characteristics that I should have to be able to be a successful entrepreneur? Can someone give me some suggestions before I read mine? You have seen entrepreneurs outside there. I know you have. What are some of the characteristics they have that you look at and say, uyo, ako successful because of this character that they have? Anybody? Hardworking, very true. As an entrepreneur, you have to be an extremely hard worker, especially at the beginning. Especially at the beginning, you have to be a very hard worker. Another one? Yes. Extremely creative. You're very right. Because actually when you're doing real entrepreneurship is about developing, creating something maybe that is absolutely different from what everybody is doing. So lazima the creativity aspect is very critical. Yes. Well informed, very, very true. Well informed. You need to be abreast of what is happening in society, what people want, ni nini wanataka, so that when you're developing something, you're sure it is something that will sell. Hautabaki nayo. Anything else? Yes, sister, before you. D? Risk taker. Yes, we have said that you have to be able to take risks. Yes, brother? Desire to achieve. You have to be self-motivated. You have to be self-motivated. The last week but one, I had about 4 wedding cakes that were running the whole week. I can tell you for sure, I hardly slept for 3 hours for 4 nights. And I remember I was telling a friend of mine, and she asked me, what is your motivation? What pushes you to tell yourself, I will work and just sleep for 3 hours? I have a choice not to work, right? I can as well take 1 wedding cake and that is okay. Sini kweli? But, you know, she asked me, what is your motivation? And I told her my motivation are many things. Yeah? Many things. But one of the things is for me to give my children the best that I can give them. So for you as an individual, you might not have children. You know, you might not have somebody who is responsible for you. So what will your motivation be? Because you want something better for yourself. So are you willing to make that sacrifice and lose your sleep, or you lose engaging with your friends, lose not watching football or whatever it is, you know, for the sake of being able to develop and build your business that in later years you will sit down and just reap the benefits of? So it is a sacrifice that you have to take. You have to be fully motivated. Anybody else from this end? Be optimistic. That is extremely, extremely important. They say, don't see the glass half empty, see the glass half full. Sini ukweli? Let us be positive. Let us be positive. Wakati hata unaona kuna shida, angalia what are the positives of this situation. And when you start seeing the positives, you will now start developing yourself. Now utaona hiyo glass inaendelea kuja, not to decrease. 1 more or 2 more. Develop your competency through training, gaining skills. Yes, sister? Discipline. Oh, that is one of the most important things. Especially when you start selling your product or your service, pesa itaanza Pesa itafanya nini? Itaanza kuingia. So how will you use that money? Will you pocket it and celebrate and say biashara imeanza kushika? Will you use that money to reinvest into your business? Those are the things. So discipline is very, very critical. So let me just go through them. Some of them you've already mentioned. So we'll just quickly go through them. So you have to be a confident communicator. You should not just communicate, but communicate in a confident way, because you know what you're doing. Let me tell you something. When you'll be going out to sell your product, hata wakati kama saa hii vile tumeenda evangelism, one of the things, when you're meeting somebody new, if you have no confidence, they will write you off immediately. Hapo na hapo. Si ni ukweli? They will just write you off. In fact, you'll be talking, akili yake iko kwingine. But when you're confident about what you're selling, whether it's a service or it's a product, somebody will want to hear you. Even if it does not make sense to them, they will want to listen because of your confidence. So confidence is something very important as an individual. And I remember when I was doing life skills training, that was one thing we used to tell our students, that being confident, having a high self-esteem is very critical, because if you don't have that, there are a lot of things in this life you will struggle with. So the second one is observation skills. Entrepreneurs are basically people who are constantly looking for opportunities. I don't know if you have such kind of friends. Wenye anakuambia, nimepata biashara ingine, you know, there's something that's coming up. As in, they always know when things are happening and they are looking for opportunities everywhere. You know, maybe there are games that are being played here in Ahero. Kidogo utaona anasema mimi ninaenda kutafuta ice. Ice inapatikana wapi? Huh? You know, do you have such people? Do you know such people in your world where you are? So those are people, they are constantly looking for opportunities where they can get profit out of. And that is the kind of people we need to be. If you want to be an entrepreneur, lazima macho yako ifunguke and be observant and know, you know, where are you going to be able to see possibilities of that you can uncover and build up on. You have to be extremely open-minded. Open-mindedness. You have to be flexible because of the changes that are happening in the market. Huwezi sema sasa vitu imebadilika nimekwama. Hapana. You try another way, right? You try another way. If, for example, you are somebody who was making soap, let me give an example. So usually, many people who make soap, maybe they use coconut oil or things like that. So tuseme coconut oil haiko. So will you say now I've stopped production? Will you say you have stopped production? You will start researching and asking yourself, which other oil can I use in soap, right? To be able to continue with my production, you know? So you will look for, you know, use research, go to the internet and try and see what else can I use. So you have to be very open-minded to be able to do this, to be an entrepreneur. The other thing is that you need to have a capacity for teamwork. You will not work alone as an entrepreneur. You will need people to support you, and if you cannot work as a team, utabaki peke yako. So that is something very important that you need to know. Another one is that you have to have a passion for your project. There is nobody else who is going to carry your vision. It is only you. So you have to be very passionate. The things that make me stay late in the night, for example, or drive long hours, you know, is because of that. Because I'm passionate about what I do. I'm passionate when I see my clients smiling at the end of the day, you know, and telling me, Mercy, you have done a good job. That satisfies me. But you see, that is driven out of passion. And passion is about not just being an entrepreneur. Everything that you do, whether you're playing the keyboard, whether you're doing the drums, whatever you're doing, have passion in it. And you'll see yourself thriving and you're not understanding, but it is passion. Passion is extremely important. My sister talked about self-discipline, which is very important. So you have to have strong self-discipline when you're because you're basically leading your business. Wewe ndio kiongozi, wewe ndio CEO. As much as the business is small, you are the CEO of that business. You're the one who will propel it into, a company if you want it to go to that length. So when you get it wrong at the beginning, it will be difficult for you to rise up. Yesterday I sat down with a client of mine. He is in the petroleum industry. And he was telling me about a time when there was a petroleum company that was selling their petrol stations in Kenya, and they were relocating, they were moving out. And he told me at that time, his son, who is currently the CEO of his company, told him, "Dad, let's go for this meeting." And they were a small company. They didn't even own any petrol station, but they were a petroleum company. They were selling gas and things like that. So he told his son, "Where do you want to go? Hata kwa kampuni hatuna pesa." I think he told me they had like 300,000 shillings in the bank account. But the son insisted and told him, "Dad, let us just go into that meeting. Let us pretend we have money. Let us just go and see what happens." And so they went for that meeting. And they found other big shot companies that have come also to give their proposals for, how much they would want to buy this company for. And he tells me that after that meeting, of course they did not buy that other company, but they learned great lessons, right? They learned a lot of lessons for what it takes to own even one petrol station, 2 petrol stations, 3 petrol stations. And he told me, and this person is a believer, and he tells me 3 years down the line, every quarter since 2020, they have been opening one petrol station after another, after another. These are believers. They're not people of the world. They're what? Believers. But you see, they were able to take the risk and tell themselves, "Let us go into this meeting. 22, let us learn. Let us see what it takes to be a big shot. Let us see what it takes." And you can imagine. So 3 years down the line, they're actually telling God, "See what you have done for us." So there is nothing. Starting small is something that, for me, I encourage every entrepreneur. Start where you are. Allow God to help you grow. Si ametuambia he's the one who enables us to create wealth. Ama ni nani tunamkimbilia? Si ni yeye tu. So with knowing that, then it is easy. It should be easier for us as believers to be able to grow. The other point is that we need to have strategic approaches when looking at decisions we are making and directions for the business. Do not just make a decision. For example, about where you are living, where you want to set up your business. Be extremely strategic. If you're selling a product, are you in a place where your customers are? Do your customers have to travel long distances to come and buy what you're selling? So we need to be very strategic. The next one is that you have to have very organizational abilities. Because you see, when you're starting a business, wewe ndio CEO, wewe ni accountant, what else? What other role? What other role? Wewe ni mtu wa mkono, eh? You do everything. So if you're not able to organize yourself efficiently, you will not move on well. So lazima ujue, and there are a lot of roles basically you will play, You will run here and about. You're the one who will be talking to your customers. You're the marketer, yeah? You're the one who is keeping the book of accounts. So there are a lot of things. So you have to be very good at organizing yourself. So manage your time wisely. Prioritize, know what is priority, what is urgent, ile lazima ufanye haraka haraka. The things that are urgent are worked on quickly. The ones that are not urgent, you can do later. So you have to have very good organizational activities. You need to have a commitment for a lifelong learning. As we said, entrepreneurship is about learning. Lazima ukwe tayari kujifunza. There is no other way, because things in the world are changing. Technology is changing. What customers want is changing. Kila kitu inabadilika. So if you're not ukibaki old school, my friend, you are not going to succeed. So we need to be very committed to that. And then the other thing is that you need to have general business acumen. Yeah? So you need to totally understand biashara ni nini. What does it take to be a good business person? You know, how do I talk to my customers when it gets to that point? So we need to be able to do that. How much more time do I have? All right. So what I'm going to do now, before we take a break, and then I think after lunch we'll continue with the other session. As I had mentioned, in the next session we are going to develop a business. We'll put ourselves in groups. So what I'm going to do right now is something very brief before we close, is questions that you will ask yourself before you start a business. So these are, when we'll be doing our discussions in our groups, these are very critical. You'll use this. So one of the things you have to ask yourself is, why do I want to start my own business? Why do I want to start my own business? So think about that. Number 2 is, what is the problem that particularly affects you? Because we have said, as an entrepreneur, you're trying to solve a problem. So as you're solving the problem, you're creating a solution. That solution is what becomes the enterprise, be it service or product. Number 3, what do you want to achieve? This business that you're starting, what do you want to achieve? Is it about money? Is it about, meeting the needs of your society? I mean, what is your topmost priority? What do you want to achieve? What is your vision? What are your goals? What is your mission? Number 4, do you have the skills to implement your project? Number 5, what are your needs? So you have this project that you want to make a reality. There is this service that you want to give to society. So what will you need to be able to realize it? Is it money? Is it more skills? Do you need more training? Do you need support? What kind of support? Number 6, who can help you? Who can help you? Basically, this is about the networks. What kind of networks do you need? Number 7, is your project viable in the long term? Is your project viable in the long term? So this product, for example, that you're starting, we want to do, is it a quick fix? And let me tell you something, in entrepreneurship is not 100 days, these people who make you feel like you can be rich in a short time. 100-day quick rich, ventures. Those things do not work, let me tell you. Entrepreneurship needs a lot of sacrifice. So is it a long-term project? Number 8, how is your market? Do you think your market will receive it? Are there challenges that you expect to encounter? Number 9, who are your customers? This is extremely essential when you're thinking about starting a business. You need to know who your customer is. Number 10, how will you test your idea or activity? Because every idea, before upeleke kwa market, you have to test it. So how will you do it? For example, if you're creating a product, utaanza wapi kuitest, kuona if it will be well received by people. So that is a very, very critical thing that you have to do. So that is where we are ending, but that will be our start for the next session. And I want us to do something as we are going for lunch, so that when we come back, we will do very quickly. I want to know how many of us are in high school. Primary school. Primary school, are there anyone in primary school? There are. High school, college or university? Those who are already in the market, wanafanya kazi? Okay. Sister, I would want, when we are forming the next groups, that we include at least one each from each category, so that it's a wholesome group. Yeah. So maybe as they're having lunch, we can do that quickly. Then when we come back, we just move in. Yeah. That's okay. All right. Sawa sawa. Asanteni sana. I'm hoping that we are learning something. The other one will be very engaging, because now we will use the things that we have learned to actually do it practically and see if we can actually create a business. I want us, when we'll be doing that session, let us not, because it's basically learning, let's not overthink. Sawa sawa. Let's not overthink. What I want us to do is to catch the concept, so that 3 years down the line, 2 years down the line, after you're done with high school, after you're done with university, or those who are already out there, you can use that system to be able to develop something of your own. Sawa sawa. So let's not overthink it. We are just learning. So tusifikirie so much outside the box. So thank you so much. Looking forward to the other session. I hope we will all enjoy. God bless you.
We can do better than that.